This is Talk It Over, the only dating relationship podcast that begins in bed. Make the time to subscribe. Now let's pull back those sheets.
Can we talk about the relationships? Can we talk it over, see how we can build? Only you and I know that's the way it goes. In this big old bed, they talk it over, so talk it over. Can we talk it over? We can talk it over. Can we talk it over in bed? Talk it over. Can we talk it over? Can we talk it over? Oh, in bed.
Yo, it's your man Big O back for another episode of Talk It Over, the only dating relationship podcast that begins in bed. And let me start off this episode by giving a very special shout out to all the women in the world as we are celebrating International Women's Day, I believe is the holiday that's coming up. So definitely to all the female listeners, we want to definitely shout y'all out, say thank you and all the support that y'all give to us men in all aspects of our lives. We definitely wouldn't be here without any of y'all. So I want to get that said and done. And then let's go ahead and bring in Bree with the T, who is stepping in for my co-host Trish, who is occupied. She might be flying the friendly skies. So Bree, how are you today?
I am doing well. How are we?
Doing good. It's been a while since you've been on. What's going on in your world?
Yes, I have recently broke my ankle, so
What?
I've been
What?
I've been
How bad
bedridden
is
for a
it?
while. I have
You
to get
you staying in the
surgery.
bed? Oh God! You had to get surgery.
Yeah. So but I'm doing well. I'm getting better.
And how long ago was this? Were you out there ice skating in the snowstorm?
No, it was a flight of steps that took me out. I was
Oh
walking down the
no!
stairs
Were you
and
chasing one of those babies?
no. Thankfully, I was just walking normally, and they happened to be like wet and whatnot, and I ended up slipping, and my ankle said boom.
Oh no! I'm sorry to hear that. But I'm glad you're in good spirits.
Yes, thank you.
So something else I wanted to let all our listeners know, for those who might be missing Trisha's voice today, to be sure to check out the Love Corner, which is being released this Thursday. They've been doing very, very good. And thank you for all the questions on her behalf. I want to say thank you for all the questions that y'all are submitting. They have a lot that they're going to get through. So if you haven't heard your question answered just yet, just be patient. It's coming. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring in all my guests today. And let me start with Miss Geraldine from my home state of North Carolina. How are you this day?
I'm good. How are y'all?
We're doing
Hope
good.
everybody is well.
So when I checked in with my family, they said you almost had like 70 degrees down there recently.
Yes.
Oh
It's
my
been
God.
beautiful.
Yeah, already. I miss that Carolina
Already.
weather.
Yeah,
Right.
it's supposed
Go
to
ahead.
get up to 73 one day this coming week.
See, we still stuck in the 30s up here. So
You can
enjoy.
have it. My sister lives in Philly, and she told me yesterday, as she was getting off work yesterday morning, that it had started snowing.
Mm.
Like, yeah, that's why I don't live there.
All right, not mad at you. So Rhea, how are you today? I want to bring you back in.
All is well on my end. All is good.
Yeah. How those clients keeping you busy with all their problems?
I almost cussed. They're keeping me real busy. They are keeping me on my toes. I must say that.
I hear you. And just for anybody that may be unfamiliar, go ahead and let them know what you do.
Yeah, so I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. So I get the wonderful opportunity to connect with individuals, families, couples that are experiencing like some sort of distress or just kind of need help becoming the best version of themselves. And I have a private practice called Mind, Body, and Spirit Marriage and Family Therapy. And that's the awesome place that I get to do the work that I do.
Okay, and anybody that wants to find you can go on Instagram and find you at The Black Therapist, right?
Yes. Yep.
And is it Black spelled out or BLK?
BLK.
BLK Therapist. All right, awesome.
Yep.
Brother Leon, I see you creeping in. How you today?
Whoa. I've been here. I wasn't creeping.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm good.
Just making my rounds. How's everything?
No, I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. You up here with me in this 30-degree weather, so we both.
Unfortunately, yeah.
The sun is bright, but the air is not reflecting that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then last but not least, certainly one of the most treasured voices that we always have on here, Brother Hassan. How are you this day? Peace and blessings.
I'm doing great, brother. Peace and blessings to you as well. Thanks for the illustrious introduction. It's a great day. I've been out in that 30 degrees, went for a brisk walk, got powered up, got some vitamin D.
Nice.
Feeling wonderful right now. So,
Right. Starting off the week right.
Yeah, brother. I'm happy to be here. And yeah.
All right. And keeping with the routine, I want to go ahead and read from your book, The Success and Inspirations 365, to let our listeners, give them a little bit of motivation, give them a little bit of inspiration for today. And today's reading is coming off of day 66, since we're at day 66 of the year. When pursuing your goals, stay in motion. An object in motion stays in motion and continues in its momentum. Keep moving towards your goals. I think that's right on time. That is huge. A lot of us, I would say almost everybody, has at one point hit a wall whenever various goals that they may have had in life and kind of slowed down. So it is very important to keep that momentum going as much as you can, even if it's a small step. If it's just one little thing every day, those things add up and you start to build a routine that just helps you keep that goal top of mind. Because life abhors a vacuum and it will throw stuff in your way.
Right. Very, very well stated, my brother.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Brother Hassan. So, Bree, where you at? We can get you back on here.
I'm right here.
You want to introduce the topic of the day?
Yes, sir.
And this is actually a topic we've done before. And this is kind of a return to it.
Yes, and I'm so excited because I have different views this time.
Oh, nice. There's some growth. Okay.
Yes. So our topic today is, would you date someone who has young children?
Okay. So I'm glad you said young, right? Let's cap that. What age are we talking? What age and under?
Well, for me, ideally, I would say young children is like anywhere before like teenage years, so like I want to say, or even like maybe 13, 14 and under kind of thing, 15 and under, like, because anywhere, yeah, they're still like kids and they're still being molded and stuff. Once they hit 16 and over, they're like more independent and want to do things on their own. So I feel like maybe like 15, 14 under would be considered like young children for me.
Okay. Is that kind of a consensus? Does everybody feel like that's a age that we would universally count as young? Or should we go a little lower? Or what are your thoughts?
Maybe 13 and younger.
Okay, I was gonna say there's some 11 and 10-year-olds out there that'll test you.
Listen here.
They'll test you now. So let's jump into it. Geraldine, I want to get you, what are your thoughts? Dating someone with young kids, we're talking 13 or 15 and below. And it's kids plural, not just one. They got multiples.
Well,
let them know.
I'm 53 years old.
You ain't trying to raise no 13-year-old.
I'm really not. I'm ready for grandkids.
Uh-huh.
I really don't want to raise any more kids.
Mm-hmm.
But there might be an exception. It depends on the man.
Okay. What do you elaborate on that?
Meaning most young men have baby mama drama.
Okay.
I don't need that.
Do they have to be young, or is that just universal across all age?
Depending on how old a child is. If they're under 10, there might be, depending on the relationship with the mama and daddy, it might be baby mama drama.
Mm-hmm.
Since if they're like me, I never gave my kid's father drama.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to see your child, you could see them. If not, oh well. I'm gonna raise my kids regardless. They're mine. I made the choice to have them. So I didn't interfere in their life. So there was no drama with my kids and their father.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I want to actually.
You don't want, you don't want to deal with that. Too many moving parts.
What it sounds like to me.
Namely,
like
the
I said,
little ones.
I'm 53 years old. I'll be 54 this year. That my patience is gone.
Right, your kids grown. You don't want no other young kids, right?
Yeah.
Anybody
Like I
with
said,
kids got to be grown too.
I'm waiting for my daughter to have a child.
Okay.
Give me a grandchild.
So
somebody I can give back.
So you looking for the partner with grandkids?
Yeah, I can do that.
You can do grandkids, but not the gotcha. So Bree, what's your thoughts?
Honestly, I feel like Geraldine is right. It's about a level of maturity, and if you've already had that experience, if you're, like well past, like, listen, I'm done with kids, period. Even my own kids, I'm ready for grandkids, But then I also think about, like those around my age, those around their late 20s, early 30s who do have kids, because we live in a generation where you see a lot of young people having kids, right? And unfortunately, it's a situation where the homes don't always stay together. It's situations where mom and dad are seeking different partners and stuff. And I think it's about a level of maturity. You have to know yourself. If you're not mature enough, or just knowing that, like, I'm not ready to sit down with baby daddy or baby mama and have these conversations and these understandings, like, you have to understand that there are things that are going to come with dealing with someone who has a child, and again, it's about knowing you and your level of maturity. If you're not ready for that, then take a step back, because they're looking for someone who's going to be on board and understand that my kid comes first. Like, we might be out doing date night, but if I get a call and it's something about my child, I gotta go. I can't afford for you to be upset with me all the time because I gotta rush to my child. So again, that's something that you got to sit back and think about, like, am I someone who's going to understand that they have to run and be there for their kid all the time? Or am I going to be the person who always wants the attention? And what about me? And, like, because, I'm also that kind of person who's like, I like a lot of attention, but I also do have that understanding of, like, your kid comes first, regardless. I'm expecting you to, like, drop me in a heartbeat and be like, listen, I got to go. My kid is there. But there are people in the world who don't expect that, who are like, no, don't leave me for your kid, So again, it's about knowing you.
Okay. What, Rhea, what are your thoughts?
I guess so. My thought is, like, is there, like, do people shy away from dating people with smaller kids because the kids themselves can be an issue, or that brings a whole nother element, or is it the kid's parent that brings the whole element that makes people, like, want to stay away? Yeah,
I'm glad you said that, because I want to get your thoughts, and I want to get Leon's thoughts and Hassan's thoughts as well. But I definitely was going to ask, and you kind of already hit that. I was going to ask, do you guys think there's a stigma, fair or unfair? Do you think there's a stigma out there on single parents with kids, or single parents, period? Do you think there's an unfair or biased stigma out there that there is necessarily going to be some type of additional hassle or additional work or additional drama? Because that may or may not necessarily be the case.
I think it, I mean, if you want to weigh in on that, Hassan?
No, okay. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, okay. I actually think that there is, just off of GP, a stigma.
Okay.
Right? Like, if you think about, like, if you're on dating apps and you put that in your profile, or you don't put it in your profile, and you match with somebody, and now you're talking, and you're like, oh, so what do you do? What do you think? All the things that come with knowing who you are. And you're like, oh, well, actually, I have 2 children. You're like, oh, okay. And it depends on the person too, because if they have had kids, then they probably won't care as much. But if they haven't, you know, and they're looking to start a family, that might be a consideration. And that's why I think, you know, there has to be a sort of like, you know, the approach is, well, what do you want for yourself in partnership, right? Because if it's you saying, well, I desire to have somebody that I can start a family with who hasn't had that experience, then you may want to consider that when you're dating somebody, right? As opposed to saying, okay, well, I'm actually open to being a part of somebody's life who has already kind of started that process and is in a position and in a place in their life where they're looking to, you know, still create partnership with their family, not in spite of their family.
Okay.
And I think, and I feel like it has to be you know, a discussion between the parties involved, like anything else we talk on this show, right? Like it's nothing is cut and dry, nothing is black and white. There is always a gray area. And, you know, I think, you know, like Rhea introduced, the possibility of having the baby mama or baby father, like as a part of that situation, is always going to be within, I think, part of that. Like, yeah, this person's cool and the kids are cool, but now I got to deal with this person. Like,
but see, that's the thing. Like, but you're not going to know until it actually happens, right? And that's why I'm saying that stigma can be sometimes unfair, because it could be like you know, I forget the show, but it could be like you hit it off with that other person, where you're just like, yo, I understand, you know, the situation y'all have, you know, a child together, but you know, me and you, we like personally, I really enjoyed, you know, having you around, like, or you know, in any other circumstance, we would be cool, right? No bad blood from any angle, and it's like, I understand that this is, you know, you have a right to your child, and as long as we respect one another and know, like, you know, I'm in a relationship, and you know, I'm not overstepping my bounds as the parent, and you're not overstepping your bounds as like the co-parent, and not trying to throw in, you know, monkey wrenches or sabotage what I got with the relationship with the person. I feel like there are definitely examples out there of very, very harmonious.
I was gonna say healthy.
Very healthy relationship.
Yeah,
because it's all about respect. It's all about the respect that you have for one another, dealing with your child.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I won't do it now. I've dated guys that had kids. That was when I was younger. And I had no problem with it. I'm saying for me now at my age, I wouldn't. I don't desire to do that.
You're not answering that call when they say
right now.
Like, I need you to go pick up so and so.
She's like, I'm in bed.
So
brother, no, I'm on a flight. I'm sorry.
Right.
Let me get Hassan's thoughts in here. What are your thoughts on the dynamic?
Hey man, that's a loaded question for me. I mean, at this point, because I'm 60, right? So you know, a lot of women that I might go to, they have grown children. You know, they have grandchildren now. I've met women that had they took care of their grandchildren, or they had custody of their grandchildren, and it really depends on the individual. You know, now and before. I mean, like I have like a lot of history. It's like in my 20s, I discriminated. I didn't go out with women if they had children. Like, you got kids? No.
Right. It was automatic. Just no.
Yeah, it changed as I got older, you know, in my 30s and 40s.
Do you recall your mind state at that time? Like, what the reason was for?
Right, I was just gonna ask.
Yeah, well, I was self-centered.
Okay.
I didn't care about anybody with myself and my needs. So if someone had a child at the time, probably less time for me. They couldn't cater to me.
Got it.
You know, my primary mission was to, you know, to take care of whatever I wanted. You know, to self-gratify myself.
Okay.
Because of my mental and spiritual limitations at the time. So now, you know, in an unlikely situation, but I never say never, you know, if I dated a woman like in her early 40s or something, or late 30s, and she had children. It depends on the woman and the children.
Okay.
You know, if you a developmentally disabled child, I would have to factor that in if I wanted to deal with, you know,
Right,
that.
right.
I was available, because not just for the child, but for her too, and you know, and whatever the other dynamics were with the father or non-father participation, et cetera, et cetera. So
do any hard no's currently exist now in that situation? Like, let's say you're like, oh, you know, I'm hitting it off with this woman, but her kid is like 2, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with the 2s, or maybe the kid is like 16, and you're like, I don't want to deal with the.
Well, this is the thing for me, because of my disconnect from my children when they were young. It's like
you might welcome it.
It could be a seizing opportunity for me
Got
to
it.
contribute positively to someone else's life, right?
Gotcha.
Because you know, I have an array of experiences and perspectives which could, you know, contribute positively to someone's development.
Got it.
With that, you know, I'm open. You know what I mean? Yeah, I never say never now.
Right.
I never say never. I don't know. You know, each circumstance is different, and
so let me ask.
No.
So let me ask, and this is an open question. What do you guys think is for lack of a better word, what is the fear for those that may shy away from, like, all right, no, I'm definitely not ready for being involved with someone that has a child, right? Because the truth is, you don't know the circle. Now, if you get involved and you're like, I don't like this dynamic, I don't like this circumstance, I don't like, you know, what's going on with the other party, I don't like how, you know, she seems irresponsible when it comes to raising a kid. That's a totally different story once you've actually peeked behind the curtain. But what I'm talking about is the fear of, like, you meet someone, you're hitting it off, and then, like Leon said, they reveal to you, like, oh, I have a kid, or I have 2 kids, or whatever. And
what if you're not ready to be a parent?
Well, nobody. I don't think you have to be. I don't think you have to be, though. In my opinion, I'm like, nobody.
No, hold on, wait, no, because okay, so like I understand that when it comes to, obviously, and I understand also what I'm about to say, it can be a little loaded because I don't have kids, so I can't necessarily speak from that other side.
Right.
But so I know it has been said, and you probably, those who have children can probably attest to the fact that, yeah, no one is actually really ready to be a parent, no matter how much.
Well, no, that's not where I'm going with it.
Okay, that's what I was saying, because
no.
Because that when I said that, what I'm saying is, what if, you know, you're choosing to, you're going in this process where, listen, I want to build with this person, I think they're nice, they're really cool, but then you find out.
Well, here's the take. The take that I was.
The whole approach is like, okay, well, they're gonna be, no matter how old those children are, you're going to be at some point, you're gonna be some figure in their life, regardless. Even if it's not a father, I'm talking about from my perspective, or, you know, if you're a woman dating a man with children, you know what I'm saying? And what if you're not ready for that? That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I think also, just to piggyback off of that, I think it's, again, also about perspective. You know, ideally, yes, when we're ready, you know, like, we can sit down and discuss calling whatever step parent, whatever. But me dealing with that parent, knowing that they have kids, I'm not looking at it as me necessarily being a parent, but just a positive person in their life, you know, in general, you know. So regardless if this doesn't work out with me and their parent, I want them to always know that, yeah, you can call me to vent. You can call me and say, I need help. I mean, you know, because I was just that person that you felt comfortable enough. Because I do, you know, I work with kids. So that's how I want my kids that I'm in schools to feel, you know. So if I want my kids in schools to feel that way, I want kids in general to just know that this is a safe space, you know, like, regardless of the situation. And then there's just the underlying factors of, like, yes, I'm dealing with your parent at the moment or whatever. But regardless if I'm dealing with your parent or not, we, you know, like, I've met you, you've had an implant on my heart, you are not my baby, and you're always going to be my baby regardless, you know.
They're gonna have that special place.
Exactly. Like, I see my kids out in the street, and, like, I haven't worked with them for years because they graduate or whatever, but they are still my babies. And I'm like,
Right. that
Miss
connection
Bree,
is still there.
yeah,
Bree, I think that's beautiful, but I think it's totally different when you're dating somebody that has children and they
I
start
think
to
it
form a
is
bond
too.
with you like you're their mother. That's totally different.
So
You know what I mean?
I want to hear Geraldine's take, and then I want to ask
Mm.
Rhea a question.
I'm with Leon. I think that's a little different too, because that child, if you're dating somebody with kids, especially somewhere up around 7, 8, 9, 10, or whatever, they might feel some type of way about you dating their parent. Like they might feel like you're
You're not supposed to be there.
trying to take their parent away, or they want their actual parents to be together.
You're right.
Like
Right.
I went through my mom dating, being with another man besides my father. I went through that at the age of 9, 10 when we moved down here down south. She moved down here to be with a man. And my youngest brother was 2 years younger than me, which was probably around 8 or 9. And honestly, I didn't like the man. I really didn't. None of us like him, and I don't think he cared for us.
Well, I think
he dealt with us because he wanted to be with my mother.
Right. So in Breeze and in Rhea, I want to get you in here, but I think just I see the validity in both points on this, and I think in Breeze, and I don't want to speak for you, Bree, but what she's saying is that regardless from her standpoint, if she enters into a relationship with someone who has kids, it's not she wants the child to know, like, hey, she wants to make sure the child is protected,
right?
Above
Yeah,
all.
right,
Protected
because
above all before her interest and before the interest of the relationship. She wants to make sure that child is protected. And that just speaks to your heart, because like you said, you work with kids.
Well, just not to cut you off, but I was in a similar situation as Geraldine. My mom passed away when I was 8, and my dad ended up, like, my mom was very close with this lady, and my dad and the lady became close after my mom passed away, and they got into a relationship, and we're in this relationship up until my dad passed away. But all those years, this was like maybe anywhere between 5 to 10 years. And all those years, I never called her stepmom. I never acknowledged her as my stepmother. But one thing I knew for a fact is that I could always count on her, and even it was so much to the point that even after my dad passed away, I was still, still in contact with
That
them.
relationship was still there.
Yeah, her kids are my best friends, and like, I'm still close to them. They became my family as well, so even though, like, I had that, because there was the pushback for me of, like, I'm never gonna call another lady my mom. I have a mom regardless of the situation, but there was also that part of me that needed that womanly figure, and she always let me know, that, like, I'm here. If you need it, the door is open. Whenever you're ready to accept it, come get it, and that was one thing that I was grateful for, because even after my dad passed, I needed anything, she was the first that was like, hey, can you help me? And I knew she was going to do it, so I would ideally want to be that figure too, if I'm dealing with someone's,
Somebody
someone
else's
else.
kids.
And if you decide that you want to, you're my stepmom, then that's up to you. I don't have to be, you don't ever have to call me that, but that's going to be up to the kid.
Right. So Rhea, let me ask, in your practice and in your experience, let's say, and just for the purposes of this conversation, for this context, right?
Yep.
Do you have any experience with couples who have children outside of their union, right? And does that add, whatever they're dealing with, does that add a degree of complexity or problems?
So,
like, has anybody ever come up and been like, I like the relationship, I enjoy this person, I can't stand their kids? You know what I'm saying? Like, help me out here, because how do I stay positive influence, and this person I'm in a relationship and when I love and everything's going great, but that bad little, like, has
so thankfully, I have not had that experience, but I feel like people with kids, like they're a package deal. Like you can't have one without the other. So I think it would definitely present is what I like to call a kerfuffle. If you're in this relationship and you're digging the relationship, but you don't like the kid, I don't, in my head, like I don't see how that's gonna work, because that's a deal breaker.
It's not gonna.
Right.
So what are you guys' thoughts on, let's say, both parties have kids, in the same situation, they get along great, but the kids don't like each other. What are your thoughts? Should that necessarily, like, the kids are getting in the way of what potentially could be a beautiful relationship?
Family therapy.
Right.
Okay, that's the
Because I
answer.
feel like you have to deal with those dynamics, because you can have, like, all of your biological kids aren't necessarily going to like each other or get
That's
along.
true.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't like, you don't opt for up. You got to go and take this kid, like you figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, also
Yeah.
too, when you got that particular example you gave, Olin, it's like it's always going to be a us versus them, right, situation. So you have to get to the point where you can them becomes us, basically, and that takes time. Like,
So it's a us
I have
versus
family,
us.
yeah, exactly. I have family members that I don't get along with. What am I going to do?
Right.
That doesn't change
Well,
anything. Like,
You're right, and I like how she said where like with my situation, my mom's husband had a daughter prior to meeting my mom, so we didn't get along. Then none of us get along growing up, but after my mom passed, ended up being closer. Like we ended up getting along, and then her dad passed, and it even made us bond even more. But
Okay.
growing up at that young age, no, I didn't like her. I was being selfish. I was being selfish. I didn't want my mom with nobody. So no.
But you can attest some of that to just your own individual maturity too, right? You know,
Right.
there are people I didn't like when I was younger either, regardless of there was, you know what I mean? So
I like to speak on one of my experiences with a woman that had children. I was in a long-term relationship. I met her in my mid-30s, and she had two young children. One was 9 about to be 10, and the other one was like 6 or 7. And
that sounds very similar. Go ahead, I'm listening.
It actually was like the invasion of the body snatcher or something. When I came in, it's like the little girl just didn't like me. It was like, who are you? Why are you here? What do you want with me and my mother? But the little boy was receptive. You know what I mean? He didn't have a father in his life. I didn't have my son in my life, so we kind of had a good click. So eventually, I grew on a little girl to the point where when she got 16, I bought her a car, and we were cool, and unfortunately, we broke up after about 12 years. So it was like, it wasn't just a breakup from her, it was a breakup from the children too, because, we just couldn't communicate at the time because the reasoning of our breakup was so devastating that there was no communication. See, we would never communicate again, from the breakup. So yeah, it was some heartbreak with that. So
yeah, it was like a breakup times 3.
I mean, that's honestly
exactly.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly what it is.
I have a question.
Relationships. So.
I have a question, Hassan. Was it that you just didn't feel comfortable, like reaching out to the kids after the breakup, or like what was it that made you feel like
there was a barrier? There was a barrier because okay, well, the reason of the breakup was, what was a child outside of that relationship. So that was mutiny. That was mutiny for everybody, for the children. Like, well, how could he? I don't believe he did that. How could he cheat on my mother? You know what I mean? So it was like it was a hot time. So maybe it was like some years until I actually saw them again. But by then everything had cooled off. They had moved on, and I was an outsider again. Right?
Yeah.
So I reflect on that, but I also reflect on how my actions affected that young man, affected her son, right? So, you know what I mean? Didn't have his father in his life, so he developed a relationship with me. He already had issues because his father wasn't in his life. So then he develops trust in me, and then I'm out. So I'm wondering what kind of abandonment issue that might have instilled in him. You know what I mean? How he dealt with that. I mean, I actually know now that could have been impactful, because right now both of those kids are grown in their 30s and they're still living at home with their mother. So it's like, I'm like, damn.
Yeah,
that's something.
That's not uncommon though anymore.
Them. And I don't know if that, I mean, I'm not saying that is, but it could have influenced it, you know, on some levels. You know, I don't know.
So I think the takeaway from that.
So it's really important to be aware of you know, how our presence in an established family, you know, could be affected by our presence.
Yeah, that you hit the nail on the head. Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. Was that I
have consciousness entering that. You know, I did have after I picked myself up from my fumble. Right. I was like, I was messed up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
Yeah. I think that was a very good, important part to tie that off. It's like, you have to be aware that if you do get involved with a person, a single parent, that you have to be aware of the impact that you're leaving, not just on your partner, but the child, right?
Right.
The young child. And so that kind of goes back to what Leon was saying too. It was like, maybe you're not ready. Maybe you're not ready to be, you know, a parent or be responsible for the impact.
Right, that level of maturity. I actually found an article, if you guys are interested. Yes, it's from Elite Daily. It's by Sydney Lyons. The title of the article is "If You're Dating Someone Who Has a Child, Here Are 5 Important Pieces of Advice." So one of the things, the first advice that she gives is wait until you are in a committed relationship before meeting the other person's kids.
Okay.
The second piece of advice is be honest about your intentions. The third piece is know that you won't always come first. The fourth one is treat their kids with respect. And then the fifth one is follow your partner's lead.
In what, in regards to the child rearing?
So it says, it gives an experience, and it says, my last serious ex-girlfriend with kids let me into their lives once we became exclusive and she was comfortable. I adopted the role of positive adult role model. She told me quick it was not my place to raise her children. I led by example and how I treated her and her kids. We broke up. I'm still cool with her, but I miss the kids and pets way more than her as time passes. So I think that also reminds me of what Hassan was saying, you know, like breaking up and missing that relationship with the kids, and, you know, just understanding that you're not just dealing with their parent, but you're also having an impact on them as well.
Right.
So I guess my question with this is, for those who have dated, you know, people who have children and whatnot, are there any other advice that you would want to add on to this list?
Let's ask Rhea. Let's get Rhea. What advice can you know, I was throwing it your way because I was going to ask you to critique the list itself, but yeah, that's a good question that Bree just posed. Was what additional advice or suggestions would you give?
So, and literally the one that's coming to mind is just based on my own personal experience, because when me and my husband got married, his oldest was only 6 months. Wow. So that was very interesting. So just from that experience, my advice would be, even if the relationship between whoever the parent is and the other parent, extend the common courtesy to tell the other parent, hey, I have this person, and assuming that that the relationship is serious, having that conversation, and even having that conversation, if the two parents are not necessarily, like if there's strain between the relationship, I believe you owe that common courtesy to say, hey, I have this person and they're going to potentially be around our child. So I think for me, the most important thing is trying to have trying to have open communication with all the adults that are in place. Because I think kids only and again, I could be way off, but I think kids only become an issue in the relationship because of what they're hearing from the other parent. And I think, and again, if you can have open communication with the adults, I think, and I don't want to say kids will fall in line, but I think in essence, kids will ultimately fall in line when they see that the adults are all on one accord.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very resilient.
Well, what would be the conversation you would suggest that the parent have with the kid, an age appropriate conversation, right? Because young kids, very young kids, they're not going, they'll just pick up that this is a new person. But when they get of a certain age and they start to recognize like this person has some kind of position in my parent's life, and they may not quite understand, but they're like, maybe I don't like it. Right. What kind of adult to child conversation would you have age appropriate? Like, listen, so and so, especially when it comes to possibly moving in under one roof, right? That's a huge one. That's a huge transition. Absolutely. For a child.
I think the most important thing that you have to articulate to kids is that the reason why mom and dad are not together has nothing to do with the kid. I think most kids have the natural tendency, even if this is not the message that's displayed, kids bear a certain level of, oh my goodness, like I caused this to happen. So I think starting there as a parent, having that conversation with your kid to say, you're not at fault. There's nothing you did. And then I think broaching the conversation to say that this new person or this extra person is able to add benefit to my life as well as your life as my child.
Should there ever be, and feel free, Leon, Geraldine, Hassan, anybody, should there ever be a caveat to that conversation saying, hey, the future is unknown. This is what's happening right now. If in the event that this person, we break up, how do you assure that child, especially if they have a bond with that other person?
No, go ahead.
I was
saying a couple of things come to mind because as Rita was talking, I was thinking about my own experiences with, dating someone that had children. And, one of the things that wasn't the case with her was that the fact that both her kids' fathers weren't around, right? And so that's what made it even more impactful for me, because whether I wanted to admit it or not, like that's pretty much the role that I'm now assuming, in this relationship that,
right, whether it's stated or not, they're going to look to you.
Whether it's stated or not, right?
That's how they're going to look to you.
Yeah. And so, that conversation, she didn't need to have that conversation with them because they just saw me, right? It was like, oh, okay, cool, blah, blah, blah. And, I think one of the other things that Rhea was talking about that I think is very important to talk at a age appropriate level is that possibility. Even though you don't want to be, what's the word? Like negative, like, hey, this is what's happening right now. But in the event that it doesn't,
right,
we are still a family and we are still okay. This has nothing to do with you, right? Having those sort of healthy conversations, I think, is important too. And I was saying earlier, kids are very resilient. They'll actually get over somebody not being there faster than that person not being there gets over it. Like I was really attached to her kids more than her. So I feel you, Hassan. You know what I'm saying?
Like, you want to drop them off? You want to give them to me?
I have a question. Okay. What do y'all feel? How do y'all feel about when you're in a relationship with someone with kids about the discipline? Because I had an issue. I had an issue. My son was only 4 years old, and I allowed him to go spend the summer with his father and his grandparents. And the little girl, that's what I'm gonna call her because she won't but 20. That his father was dating, put her hands on my son.
Yeah, that's a no. That's a no for me.
And that's a no for me, dog.
I literally flipped out. I called him,
As you
cussed him
should.
out.
Yeah.
As you
I called
should.
his mom and told his mom, and his mom ended up getting on the girlfriend.
Yeah. I
Because
was.
my thing was, okay, this is the first time you ever met my child.
Oh, first time. Damn.
Yeah, this
No,
was the first time you ever met my child.
Nah.
And you had no business putting your hands on him. If he did something wrong, you need to let his father know.
Right. I agree with you 100% on that, Jared. And I think
I was real close to going to jail.
I think to answer your question, I think that if you find yourself in a relationship, it is not your place to be in any disciplinary role that has not been established by the other parent, by the parent, basically saying, listen, you know, and even then, I think it you should take that with a grain of salt. Like you should always defer to the biological parent. To the biological parent. Like there is their rule. They're going to enforce it. This is my rule. They're going to enforce it.
Not the rules that went, you know, when I was coming up. It's like we had a child who was together, then there was a understanding that, you know, you could discipline that child, right? But
even if it wasn't your child?
Exactly. It's like, no, you did something wrong.
Wow.
Oh, that's more of the it takes a village sort of
pop that ass or whatever. But I remember another but I just wanted to relate to an experience I had where I had to get out because it was insane. I wanted to beat up the children, right? Just because of their behavior.
Yeah.
It's like I was young, you know, had started dating this young woman, and she had 3 children. A daughter about 11, a son about 7, and a little one about 2, right? The little one that was 2 was cool, you know, like, you know, they were good. but the little boy who was about 7, he had an affinity for matches. He was an arsonist. He kept setting stuff on fire. And you know, I actually was limited at the time to the physical.
Goddamn, this is Damien.
And yeah, the little kid would set stuff on fire. It'd be like, you smell smoke, he set the toilet paper on fire.
Hell no. I'm out.
His mother would beat him, and then
I'm not mad at you, bro.
Listen, so
I'm talking this little nigga right now.
I'm like, hey, you know.
Yeah,
exactly. And then
just joking. I won't choke children.
The little daughter, she was sneaky and would steal stuff, and you know, I put something down. I go to sleep. She go in my pockets, and it's like, yo,
gotta hit it with a case of babies.
Yeah,
you got hit with a case of babies.
You should have been out. You should have been out.
Hold it. Their mother, hold it. Their mother would tell me to whip their ass. Right?
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, whip his ass right now, right? I mean, which I did. I just
gave you the green light.
But I wanted to punch him in the jaw like a man, actually.
That was a red light. I would have hit the door real quick.
That red light popped on quick.
I didn't have that insight to hit the door because I was dictated by my limitations of who I was at the time. All I was interested in was the gratification, which was on, you know, for me at the time, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 12. So imagine, you know, where I was at, right?
Right.
Mind you, some people tell you to spank that child, but really don't mean it.
Right.
You spank the child, then they get mad with you.
Yeah.
Oh, I ain't spanking nobody's child now. No. We talking about 20-some years ago. We talking about 25 years ago. I mean, you know, I was a different creature then. So yeah, you know, no, I'm not nobody's kid now. No.
In conclusion, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of advice going around here. Number 1 being, don't spank nobody else's child. Number 2, which we're gonna say 1.5. If you're dating somebody who's got an arsonist kid, that's the red light to get out the door.
Red light.
At ASAP, or you know, sign him up for the fire brigade or something. And then the other one, which we've also talked about, is definitely just be prepared, right? Because again, you have to know who you are mature wise. You have to know what you want and what you're walking into. That once you take that peek behind the curtain, the only way that you're going to sufficiently be able to handle those dynamics is, like we say, talk it over, have that communication, talk with the parent, talk with the other parents, see what their relationship is like.
Yeah.
Have a conversation age appropriate with the child if you can, to just let them know, like, hey, like Bree said earlier, I'm here for you. And even if things change and I may not necessarily be in the house or in a relationship with your parent, I still wish the best and still will be an open ear and line of communication for you. So that if things do in the event go left or go south, the impact is lessened a little bit. And with that, Bree, where you at?
I'm
Yeah, do
here.
my
I'm here.
stepping.
Okay. So I just want to know if you
Not with
wanted to
that ankle.
say.
Ain't stepping nowhere.
I just want to know if you had anything you wanted to add in closing.
No, again, just know yourself. I feel like majority of the times when we do a topic, the moral is just knowing yourself and your level of maturity and where you are mentally.
I want to thank everybody. Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Miss Geraldine and Ria, and always, Brother Hassan. Thank you for being a part of today's production. And for those, please go check out the Love Corner this Thursday, coming at you with Trisha and our resident sex coach, Jen Infantino. I want to thank Anna Banana, thank K.I. from Bed-Stuy for putting together another bomb topic and production. And in the words of Nas K.I., slow motion.
Are you looking to become the best version of you, but need a little outside perspective to help you get there? Please reach out to Mind, Body, and Spirit Marriage and Family Therapy. We provide individual, couples, and family counseling. If you're looking for a down-to-earth therapist that's relatable and that you can connect to, check us out on our website, mbsmft.com. We're also on all social media outlets, on Instagram, The Black Therapist, and on Facebook and Twitter, MBSMFT. You're listening to Talk It Over, the only dating relationship podcast that begins in bed.